I think a famous singer once said, everybody's got to serve somebody.
Bob Dylan was wrong about that. I serve no one. We don't have to. Bob Dylan doesn't have to, and neither do you. But Rabbi Friedman is not serving God. He's serving himself, though I'm sure he doesn't understand that. I'm happy to help other people when I can, but to serve someone in this context implies being enslaved to a master. I don't have one, nor do you. There isn't one. What I do is my own choice. Whether I want my life to have meaning is also my choice. I get to choose what that meaning is and to work to that end. For a long time, I was happy just living a life without meaning because life is its own reward. Then I had an opportunity to make another choice, and I think I made the right one.
If you're not dogmatic in your religion, you become dogmatic in something else. If you're not religious about the laws of Shabbat or Kashrus, then you become religious about your health or about your political beliefs.
That makes no sense. I will grant that politics can be even less rational than religion is, which is weird because most political situations are real, not something you have to make believe, usually, although obviously we've had different circumstances of late. But however similar religion and politics are, they are distinctly different things. I typically define religion as a faith-based belief system positing the notion that a supernatural essence of self will survive the death of the physical body to continue on in some other form. I only know of one religion that doesn't fit that definition, though everyone thinks it does, and it's kind of a parody religion, in my opinion, in that it doesn't require faith because it doesn't have beliefs. And not everyone shares my definition. And more commonly, religion is defined as a set of organized beliefs, practices, and systems that most often relate to the belief and worship of a controlling force, such as a personal god or some other supernatural being. Others define religion as an organization or even a business promoting a ritual tradition with a particular set of ethics. In any case, it makes no sense to say that we are religious about our health. What the rabbi is attempting is the fallacy of equivocation, conflating being religious in the context of practicing religious beliefs with doing something religiously, meaning no more than to do something regularly, habitually. And his complaint is that scientists won't stop being scientific in their increasing understanding of realities that the rabbi does not care about or want to accept.
We all are dogmatic about something.
No, we're not. I'm not. A critical part of the definition of dogmatic is that such people never waver in their beliefs and don't even think about trying to change their minds. I've had to change my mind a few times because the truth matters more to me than whatever I might rather believe. So in any given argument, I'm obliged to consider the criticisms against my position that they might be valid, meaning that I might have to change my mind again. It's happened, albeit rarely. If after this argument is made, I still hold strongly to a position or philosophy, it's because I've already evaluated the counter argument and my position remains better supported than that of the contender or the critic.
Why is that?
Because religious arguments are always either stupid or dishonest, or both, usually both.
I mean, assuming that you accept this as true, we are all dogmatic about something.
But we're not. Science is not. Science is an investigation rather than a belief, so it operates completely opposite of faith, seeking to be dispassionate, objective, trying to minimize or eliminate biases wherever possible, where religion is a bias by definition. Rather than try to prove a theory true, which we're not allowed to do anyway, scientists try to prove the theory false instead. And we're encouraged to weigh multiple hypotheses at once whenever possible to see which ones are better supported by the best evidence. Of course, in order to have a competing hypothesis, it must be testable and potentially falsifiable and supported by evidence. No religious faith can meet any of those standards. And the problem the rabbi has is that his position is indefensible. He has virtually no understanding of evolution at all. He doesn't even know what it is. All he knows is that he can't accept it, but neither can he argue against it. He can't deal with it at all. His comprehension and education are both too limited and limiting in that he is dogmatic. He cannot even consider changing his mind, no matter how scientific, how commonly understood, or how apparently workable or logical evolution may be. He is in the compromised position of having to make believe something that we know is not true because we can prove it's not true. And he cannot correct that to accept what is true. His problem is that evolution is demonstrably true, while his position is verifiably false, meaning that he can't continue to make believe whatever he wants to, but he's incapable of correction. So he resorts to the fallacy of false equivalence, pretending as if science is just as bad as religion, as if science is dogmatic too, just like he is, just like he already admits that his religion is.
And that's because without some dogma, we have no posture. We become a blob. We become Play-Doh. We have to take a position, and a strong position, on something that becomes our backbone, that becomes our posture. And from there, we can maneuver our way through life.
The rabbi seems to think that we should be dogmatic, that we should be unreasonable, following authoritarian dictates rather than evidence, or that we just choose to believe whatever we like, regardless whether it's true or not, as if the truth of the matter doesn't matter. But he's wrong about that and practically every other thing he's said so far. And some of us can be honest and objective and reasonable whenever actual factual truth matters more than make-believe.
But without a posture, without a vertebrae, we're not human beings.
It's been a few minutes since the rabbi said anything that was true, but I'll give him this one. Humans are a subset of the taxonomic subphylum Vertebrata, but then that's because of our evolution, which he's supposed to be disproving right now. His video title says he is disproving evolution, so I wonder if there will ever come a point where he will begin to talk about that.
So if we don't have the dogma of religion, we take other dogma.
No, we don't. I choose to reject dogma and pursue truth instead, to question all assumptions and authority, to only tentatively accept whatever we can show to be true and not be fooled into believing anything that is not evidently true, the way Rabbi Friedman does.
The question is that a legitimate exchange?
Discarding lies in search for truth? Definitely.
In other words, dogma is appropriate if we're talking about religion. It is not appropriate anyplace else.
Funny how the practice of religious faith is the only time when dogma is appropriate, the only time when it's okay to make up baseless assumptions and assert them as if they were facts, the only time that deceitful nonsense gets repackaged to be sold as revealed truth.
Human intelligence basically means this. I have a theory. I can explain the nature of the changing seasons and the effect that it has on the leaves on the trees. Whatever explanation I have is convincing and satisfying to my mind. Is it correct and true? Ich weiß nicht. I don't know. Could there be a better explanation? There can be. There probably is. There probably will be better explanations coming in the future as we learn more. If I say, my explanation is the only explanation, it's the only way it could possibly have happened, this is what happened, this is the way it is, this is the way it must be, I am no longer intelligent. Because intelligence means the ability to see both sides of an argument.
Rabbi Friedman, let's look at both sides of this argument. We already know that creationism is not correct. It's not true. Evolution is a better explanation, and it is the only explanation, the only one that accounts for any or all of the available data, where creationism doesn't count for anything, nor does it explain anything, and it's not even possible. We're talking about a magic invisible man using incantation to speak things into being, like abracadabra, and poof, there it is. Well, except for Adam, of course, who was created as a golem spell, and Eve, whose creation from Adam's rib isn't genetically possible either, not even for a clone. None of that is even remotely realistic. It's all obviously just fantasy folklore and nothing more than that. Evolution is the only explanation that is even possibly true, and it has already been confirmed, corroborated by many different fields of study. We actually know that this is what happened, that this is the way it is. Biblical literalism is false. Full stop. If you want to reject the facts and evidence to believe in creationism anyway, then you're no longer intelligent. But then you weren't really very intelligent to begin with.
That's why intelligent people don't make good political leaders. Because to be a political leader, you have to take a position and fight for it until you're dead.
No, you don't. We don't want political leaders who are strong in their faith and firm in their convictions, because then they're both prejudiced and unreasonable. They will decide your fate before the facts are even known, and they will not correct themselves once the facts are known. We don't want that, neither in a political leader nor in a judge.
An intelligent person can see the other side of the argument, and so he gets nothing done.
An intelligent person also has the power of negotiation, so they do get things done, the right things, often even with bipartisan support.
So you've got to be stubborn, you've got to be opinionated to be a political leader, but that's not an intelligence. That's not a sign of intelligence.
A good leader will not be stubborn or opinionated, because there's no value in an unreasonable despot with an uninformed opinion. Instead, they should be objective, amenable to reason, and able to be reasoned with. And they will have the benefit of being able to tap into expert advisors in whatever topic might come up. So they'll always be able to make an informed decision, even on matters where they've got no prior study or expertise themselves. That is a sign of intelligence.
An intelligent person is a tortured person. Intelligent people always have questions. Very few answers. Because for every answer, there's new questions. For every new discovery, there are new mysteries. That's called intelligence.
The thing that made science appeal to me as a child was when I realized that scientists don't know everything yet. So there's still a chance that I might be able to take part in the investigation and maybe even discover an answer to some mystery that hasn't already been settled. Intelligent minds want to solve puzzles. We want to work things out. We want to figure things out. It's okay if we don't know all the answers, or if we know them for certain. It's enough to know which explanations work and which don't, which ones are supported and which can be tested, and they're accurate enough that we can make predictions based on them and test those too to see where we got it right and what we need to correct if we didn't get it right. We are not tortured. This is the best way people can be. The people who are not intelligent are also not curious, which I cannot understand. They don't want to inquire or explore the way I do. They just want to be told what to think because they don't know how to think on their own. They want the answers given to them because they don't have the wherewithal to figure out anything by themselves. Maybe that's okay for a dog who lives motion alone, but people should want to be capable of more than just that.
As soon as you say, it has to be this way, it's the only way it can be, now you're talking religion. You're not being sensible anymore.
Thank you for admitting that religion is not sensible. We already knew that, of course, but it's nice to see that even you know it too. However, evolution evidently is the way it is. It is the only way it can be. Because now we're talking science, not fictional fables and mystical mythology, which is all creationism is.
Now, why is it okay to be that way when it comes to religion?
The reason religion demands special pleading and special privilege is because faith is inherently dishonest. It's not about finding the truth, it's about believing what is not true. It's literally making up lies and then selling those lies as absolute truth with a capital T for the purpose of manipulating the masses and also for living in a fantasy, usually out of fear.
Well, it's not just religion. If your wife wants it a certain way, then to you, that is dogma. It has to be that way. Why? Because she wants it. There is no other possibility. There are no two sides to this coin. Why? Because if you are serving someone, then their will, their pleasure, their opinion is the only thing that counts. The fact that you may have a better idea is completely irrelevant. That takes getting used to, by the way. Because until we're married, we're encouraged to be intelligent. No matter what you're told in school, you're expected to ask a question, to have an opinion, to come up with a better idea. Then you get married and you try to do more of the same. It doesn't work. Because home life is not a classroom. It's not a theory. When you're serving someone else, their need becomes your dogma.
I married an adult who was neither servant nor master. Well, she has a master's degree where I only have a bachelor of science, but we're partners. There are things that I want she doesn't, and there are things that she wants that I don't. So we negotiate give and take on different things as appropriate or necessary.
The idea of dogma in religion comes from the fact that religion means to serve God, as we'll discuss later today.
Oh, so what you said before about being religiously dogmatic about science, that was just bullshit, that what you said, because science has nothing to do with serving God and therefore cannot be dogmatic the way you said it was?
If you're serving God, then what he needs is the only consideration.
By definition, God doesn't need anything, nor could he. And if it was possible that he did need something, he wouldn't have to rely on you. There's never been a time, there's never going to be a time where God says, hey, can you do something for me that I can't do? Can you take care of something that I couldn't just snap my fingers and just have the way I wished it to be because I need you to help me? Yeah. No, your magic imaginary friend needs that kind of thing. But if a God really existed, he wouldn't need you. He wouldn't need anything.
You come up with a better idea, it's irrelevant.
Thank you for your implicit admission that evolution is a better idea. It's not just an idea, it's also a confirmed fact. God is not a fact, and creationism is in fact false.
God wanted to bring a flood to wipe out all life on earth by making it rain 40 days and 40 nights. Noah may have had a better idea. Bill Cosby had a better idea. But it was irrelevant.
Yeah, I wouldn't cite Bill Cosby in that context anymore. I know which comedy routine you're referring to. It's from 1965, almost as old as I am. And what you said might still have been funny if you'd said it 20 years ago, but it will likely lead to the wrong impression now. Also, on the matter of the global flood, You should know that even Christian schools no longer teach flood geology because we know for certain that the Noachian flood never happened. I have a playlist showing how several fields of science independently show different reasons why the global flood of Noah's Ark not only couldn't have happened, but that even if it could have by some miracle, you can still show that it didn't happen. We can prove that. So any argument for creationism that includes defense of the global flood has already lost, already failed.
So dogma is appropriate when you are serving someone else. Then only dogma is going to work.
New, it's still not appropriate even then.
You want to find out exactly what the other person wants and exactly how they want it and where and when. Now you've got it right. That's dogma.
But we're not serving anyone else. There is no one else to serve. And if there was, then they wouldn't want us to obfuscate or misrepresent the facts the way you're doing, seemingly deliberately, I might add.
But as we said before, science, natural law, is not God, and we are not here to serve it or worship it. It is here to serve us, and the more we know about it and the better we understand it, the better we can use it to our advantage.
That's certainly been the case for evolution. The more we understand it, the more useful it is in disease control, in virology, toxicology, animal husbandry, agriculture, genetics, any field of biology, really. But how well does that work for people who don't know about any of that, who don't study it and don't acknowledge it, and who only lie about it instead? Even worse, creationists will not correct themselves when they've been shown to be in error, when they know that they're in error, as if faith means never admitting when you're always wrong. Instead, they just double down. But that is not my way, as you can see. Since I have 3 Jewish people on tap, I want to ask you guys a question. When a rabbi says that something is in the Torah, what's he talking about? What is the Torah?
There are three.
Well-
there are 3 different ways to define it. One of them
Yeah.
is through the actual law of Moses. The other one is all the mitzvahs in general, and then the third way to define it is through all of the religious traditions that have built up about the law and the mitzvahs. That is how it was explained to me by my Jewish studies professor. So.
Well, essentially, there are 2 types of Torahs. The first is the written Torah, which is the Torah that we know in the Bible. And the second is the oral Torah, which is all the things that are not in the Torah, but were transmitted, according to the tradition, were transmitted from Moses through an unbroken chain of oral tradition. And basically, and that oral Torah is from stuff from Mishnah, Talmud, Midrashim. Basically, if you say Chazal, it's basically oral Torah.
It started with a guy who
Okay, so
never
you
existed.
just told me. Yeah, you just told me that there's 2. One is the Torah and everything that's not in the Torah, which is called the Torah.
The oral
Because
Torah.
it just means law, right? So
okay, so
yes.
the oral
the
Torah
the
is
word means law. It's the law of
Can I-
Moses,
okay. So
of God.
if somebody says that something is in the Torah and then specifies that it's in the Bible, now what are they saying?
The 5 books of Moses.
yeah, so
That's
the book,
typically-
the 5 books of Moses is the Torah. That's the written Torah. So right here, this is the written Torah. And then if you're talking about all the stuff that Torah mentioned about the rabbinical traditions about it, then especially like the Mishnah, right? Then that would be the oral Torah, the oral law. That's the stuff that in their view wasn't, that Moses didn't write down. That's stuff that they talked about later. So
Okay, now Tomer, you live in Israel,
Yes.
and as a consequence of being an Israeli citizen, did I understand you at some point to say that you had to study the Bible as part of your education?
Yeah, but it was mostly for a more like critical approach, I would say, especially when I reached high school.
Okay. The reason I ask all of this is because I did this video series on Rabbi Manis Friedman, and he said that, you know, the way that the creation is described in the Torah and then specified in the Bible is that Adam is 20 years old. So you, an Israeli citizen trained in the Bible, you were not
Well,
aware of what he was talking about with it being 20 years old. You told me a day or two later you found something where it was like written commentary by other people elsewhere.
well, that's you could say that the source that I cited is Genesis Rabbah, which is a midrash around compiled around the time of the Talmud, I believe, 400 500 CE.
Yeah, around
So,
there.
yeah, but essentially that's all the. I think the midrashim are also like a part of like the oral tradition, but it's not like the law. It's mostly like stories.
Okay, so let me just get this straight. The bit that talks about how Adam was built to be to appear as though he is, you know, intellectually and physically developed to 20 years old. That was written around 500 in the Common Era.
Well, the thing is, the idea probably existed earlier. The apologetic probably existed earlier because,
These
like,
are
the thing is,
compiled during
yeah.
that
As
time.
much as we give them flack, rabbis aren't like inherently stupid. They're wrong a lot, but they're not inherently stupid. So, like, they realized issues in the texts.
I
So,
mean, I think there is a subcategory of like history of logic, which is Talmudic logic. I mean, the rabbi's logic is like way
I
way
honestly, I could see making the extrapolation. Every depiction of Adam shows him as being a fully developed adult.
I
And
get that. I
also,
get that.
and there's the obviously there's the 13 with the bar mitzvahs and yada yada yada. But in the section we just read last time, with the military conscription survey, they looked at men 20 years and up, or 20 to whatever.
Yeah,
But that
but I
there
could
was
see the discrepancy of imagining that, okay, you are a legal adult at 13 at this time period, you know, like the contextually
mhm.
for Genesis, when Genesis was written, you would be considered a man if you're 13. Fair?
But a full, and but only of an age for like military conscription at 20. So maybe that
Gotcha.
would be, it would make more sense to create him 20 than 13.
I'm a little surprised at that because I mean, when you go to war and you're wasting tens of thousands of people against tens of thousands of people, you're going to want as many people as you can. And there's a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds that went to war in World War II, you know, and 16-year-olds that try to get into World War II. So why would you not do the same thing in the Bronze Age or Iron Age?
the thing is, they didn't really
But
live that long back then, right? So, like, they
yeah,
would push that lower boundary, lower, so people could be military men earlier.
yeah. So, but the reason that I ask about all this is because, one, I just want to be forthcoming. I said that Rabbi Friedman had had opened the statement with something that was not in the Bible. He said it was in the Bible. He said the way that it's described in the Torah. Then,
well, that's the
then
Torah. He says the Torah. That's not the Bible necessarily.
Didn't he say
It's
both
not the
though?
Bible
and
at
then
all.
he said in the Torah, in the Bible.
Yeah,
So now
in
he's clarified that he's specifically talking about the Bible. You studied in the Bible in Israel, raised in the Jewish religion. You were not aware of this, so I could be forgiven for this. But people that
Yeah.
criticize me for my ignorance of the subject in not knowing that there was this other commentary written,
Yeah, there was
written
one.
in 500 whenever.
Yeah, I
That
cite them all the time.
So so I grew up in the same community as Rabbi Manis Friedman. Like I went through the same education system that he went through, meaning to say the worst education system you could ever go through. But anyway, yeah, when he was saying the Torah says, he definitely was referring to like the idea of the law, the Torah in general, as opposed to the Bible, which sometimes is called the Torah. Normally it's called Tanakh, which is the acronym for the 3 sections, or it's more specifically the 5 books of Moses. But
Okay.
I think when he said in the Bible, he might have been talking about the fruit, as opposed to the idea of Adam being 20.
The what? The what?
So
The
Adam,
fruit?
because the Bible explicitly says that there are fruit, right? Forbidden
The
fruit.
fruit? Sorry.
Yeah, the fruit of knowledge and the fruit of
Yeah. And he
Life.
Fruit was
extrapolates
20
from
years
that,
old?
that it explicitly says, literally says in the text, that there are fruit. He extrapolates from that, meaning that this means that there is trees with fruit on them, they're mature trees. The idea of Adam being 20 is not in the text. That does
No.
come from a midrash.
But
And
he was made a
interestingly
man, and
enough,
the trees were made, you know, in an aged form. I mean, that's clear
Yeah.
from scripture.
yeah,
But
so
the
it's
20 is just
it
made
does
up
come
silliness.
from the text. But the idea that he's 20 is from a midrash, and interestingly enough, I think the Quran also says that he is 20 years old.
Okay.
And
I just wanted
also,
there to be a
all
public
scripture, I think.
statement. If I'd said that, the guy said that it was in the Bible, it is in fact, you guys agree, it is in fact not in the Bible, but then neither did he pull it out of his own ass, because there's this other commentary that, rabbinical scripture that the rabbis would know about, that presumably most Jewish people in his audience would know about, but that I as an outsider would not have known about.